WIFTBPM.
Maze Jackson.
If you could make up a social media holiday, what would it be?
Randy said National Don't Let No One Put You Down Day.
No one. What you gonna do? So when they say something crazy, you slap them?
Be like May said. Remy said a Jukathon Day.
Man, we about 60 years old. I be done had a heart
You
attack.
gotta get your heart rate up.
Okay, not that far.
Yeah. All right, Mario said my favorite one. My friends and I do what we call National Call Off from Work Day.
As a business owner, I don't.
You don't like that, yeah.
I don't like that one.
Because I'm the boss of this family.
We got Marcus Garvey Day from Remy too.
Oh, Marcus Garvey Day. All right, what will we do on Marcus Garvey Day?
Call off from work.
I'm going to need you to go ahead and come in tomorrow. That would be great. Okay?
Yeah, right.
Every black holiday has something to do with calling off from work.
You're cool. I'm out.
How about National Join a Positive Black Organization Day? Because I don't want to be recruited. I don't want to be recruited and the brothers be like, thank you. Thank you. How about National Tell White People the Truth Day? Tell them how you really feel.
You can't handle the truth.
Why don't we call that National Black People Get Locked Up Day?
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
Hello.
The most dangerous show in the morning.
WIFTBPM.
Uh-oh, what's in it for the black people?
You are listening to the most dangerous show. This is What's in It for the Black People Radio. Maze Jackson. Maze Jackson, the most vociferous advocate for black people in the world.
For Ruthie Moore, for Ty Stroger, I am the host of the Maze Jackson Show, asking every single day, what's in it for the black people? And if you don't like it, you can still tell them Maze said, Mayor Lightfoot, man, we ain't accepting that. We ain't accepting that. Let's go. Yeah.
Let's get down to business and go ahead and address the facts, man. Lightfoot seems more lesbian than black. Rahm Emanuel's another case, he was just as tired. 50 closed schools left much to be desired. Police had Anjanette naked on that body cam. They suppressed the footage so it couldn't touch a lot of hands. Reminds me of that 16 shots in that cover-up. Both of them similar, so I went and dug it up. George Floyd killed, a lot of riots happened in the town. Southside burned and they wouldn't let them bridges down. Grandmother sick, need a prescription and plus a couple groceries. You gon' have to travel just to get it now. COVID-19 out here shutting all the business down. Not enough SBA loans to even give around. So many failed businesses that you could put them in the pile. If you don't survive the pandemic, it's gon' sit you down. We sing, dance, play ball, entertain, and crack jokes. Government infested black neighborhoods with crack smoke. System that milked us so bad, we got lactose. Still trying to find out what's in it for us black folks. We sing, dance, play ball, entertain, and crack jokes. Government infested black neighborhoods with crack smoke. System that milked us so bad, we got lactose. Still trying to find out what's in it for us black folks. Shout out to Willie Wilson, hope one day you get to send it. We need some different players in the game to handle business. Too many shady characters like Madigan and Blago. But when you really break it down, it's typical Chicago. City full of gangsters, it's what the land was built on. Same streets with hood legends DNA get spilled on. Carjackers out here lurking trying to get they steal on. Looking for a block to put them Hellcat wheels on. Let us give bogus appraisals a red line. Car crackers out here getting minimal fair time. And I'm concealed carry, I stay with the pipe. But Illinois gun laws giving minimal rights. Stay up on the swivel, make sure I'm moving tight. Check all of my mirrors when I pull up to the light. Pick my homie up from out of town, man, he caught a flight. He was hella nervous, told him, shorty, this a way of life. We sing, dance, play ball, entertain, and crack jokes. Government infested black neighborhoods with crack smoke. System that milked us so bad, we got lactose. Still trying to find out what's in it for us black folks. We sing, dance, play ball, entertain, and crack jokes. Government infested black neighborhoods with crack smoke. System that milked us so bad, we got lactose. Still trying to find out what's in it for us black folks.
Wake up, Chicago! Wake up, world. This is the Maze Jackson Show on a Saturday. Wait a minute. A Saturday? Saturday? It's a Saturday? Shout out to De La Soul on a Saturday. Love tip. Shout out to my man, True Goy. Hey, man, it's Saturday morning. what is this? The 20. What's today's date? Saturday. Look at me. I'm all discombobulated. It's Saturday, the 25th of February. And Riis, what they say, no rest for the weary, dag. And I ain't even gave up your mic. We might have to jack it from Ronnie Mosley for a second. But this all right, y'all. You know my man DJ Riis the Ruler is in the building. He is doing his thing on a Saturday. Man, I know Riis like, that nabbit. I just got through working. I left up out this mug. Dog, you sun up, sundown, sun up, sundown, sun up, sundown. Now, Riis, I can't lie, though. I was here a little late last night myself for the Alderman David Moore birthday party where it was crack-a-lacking. And, Riis, I ain't going to tell you what's going to happen, but I got to suspend some people. Got to suspend some what's in it for the black people. Black people first. Riis, it be your own people, Riis. I'm over here minding my business on the other side of the room, doing my thing, and not, y'all bear with me because you know we got the 21st Ward last chance candidate debate, so we got them in the building. But I y'all look this camera. Y'all looking at the camera up there. If you watching the show live, let me duck down a little bit. Because some people sitting behind me is getting suspended. They getting them some suspensions. I can't talk about it right now. I'm going to put your business in the street. But I seen you. I seen you last night. Everybody was doing their moves, Riis. Regina got about 300 moves. We ain't going to talk about Desiree because Desiree didn't sit down no part of the night last night. Damn part. Lori came in this morning like, what happened? What happened? Zaviola was like, did they play your song? They played my song. We had video, DJ going, Riis. It was crack-a-lacking. But, Riis, I ain't going to tell you what I saw when I came around the corner. I was like, do my eyes deceive me? All right. Look, y'all, this is the Maze Jackson Show. I'm your host, Maze Jackson. This is a special edition of the Maze Jackson Show. My man, DJ Riis the Ruler. Let me do it. Hey, matter of fact, let me just give you a lean in. You go ahead. Hey, DJ Riis the Ruler, how you feeling, man?
Blessed by the best. You already know the rest. How y'all doing today on a Saturday?
Saturday, it's a Saturday. We out in the building doing our thing. But it is the last chance candidate debate. Y'all know that, I ain't going to even lie to y'all. I cannot wait for Tuesday. I'm just tired. And I ain't been on the campaign trail. I'm just, every day you wake up, it's a up, it's a down, it's a I got you here, got you there. I be like, man, I'm waiting to see what come out on Sunday, though. Right? Like, something is going to happen in this mayor's race on Sunday. Somebody going to be telling. It's going to be some tea. Something is happening. But for right now, we are about to get into this debate and this candidate debate, the 21st Ward. I think there's like 25 candidates in that race. However, 3 of them are in the building with us today. And so I am excited to be able to facilitate, moderate this last one. Then I'm going to tell y'all what, I'm going to leave up out of here. I'm going to go get in the bed. Riis, I feel bad for you, dog. You got to go make the chicken wings. At the boat, he got to go out the boat fields and do his thing. We got people walking in the door. It's getting ready to get crack-a-lacking up in here. So check this out, y'all. This is the Maze Jackson Show. I'm your host, Maze Jackson. Got my man, DJ Riis the Ruler. Y'all know we have been doing this all week, candidate debates. Last chance for candidates to answer questions, the questions that black people really want the answers to. So let me start by saying, I got my man, DJ Riis the Ruler in the building. I also have my timekeeper extraordinaire, Ms. Zaviola Coleman, who is also the executive secretary of What's in It for the Black People. Coleman and Coleman. Y'all related? See, what you from? Mississippi, you from Arkansas. You Arkansas. Look, see now we gonna see this, but this is what we know. Everybody cousins. Everybody black is cousins, unless, well, it depends. But check this out, y'all. So we are going to facilitate this last chance candidate debate in the 21st Ward. I just want to let the candidates know there are a few ground rules, right? So this is the What's in It for the Black. First of all, let me thank my sponsors. What's in It for the Black People Media, What's in It for the Black People Political Action Committee, and the Black People First Party. In case a lot of times people think it's all me. It's not. It really is a full-blown organization with executive board members, voters. It's been a developing organization, and we finally are at a space now. You are at our world headquarters, by the way. But it is a space that we created here at Obsidian for black folks to be able to talk about the best and the brightest and to figure out the world's problems in a safe environment. This debate, and it is a debate, it is not a forum, so let me be clear. If you hear your name, somebody say your name. You know, don't say my name, but if somebody say your name and you feel like you need to respond, give me a little sign and I'll give you the opportunity to rebut, right? And then additionally, if someone name checks you, I'll give you the opportunity to respond, and then if they respond, I'll give you 10 seconds to close, right? So we just want to make it as fair as possible, but recognize that there's not a hard set time. We'll give you the clock. I want you to look at the clock. If you hit the ding, finish your sentence. Now, if we think we need to expound more, then I'll take it another step forward. But feel free to mix it up, share your and again, we've had very cordial but very spirited conversations this entire week. I want to definitely make sure it stays cordial, but I am definitely okay with it being spirited. The fact of the matter is there are so many times in the city of Chicago and in our world where we are not able to confidently address issues that really resonate with black people. We're scared we're going to offend somebody say you're racist, something. So what we did was we came and put these forums together with the hope of being able to get some answers to questions that black people want to be answered without being accused of something, getting an ism put on you or a anti or anything like that. Again, the What's in It for the Black People last chance candidate debates are about getting answers that black people want. So with that in mind, I am happy to get this thing started. In the building, and y'all check out the camera because I'm about to put them all on the camera, to the candidates. I want you to recognize there's like a 30-second delay between the screen that you're seeing and what you're talking about, so don't get trapped, right? You get caught in this no man's land, and you'll be talking to the screen, and the next thing you know, you're not in the right space. So I want to make sure you're aware that keep an eye. When you see 10 seconds, or you got 10 seconds, you know you got to do it quick. But if you see 5, start wrapping it up. Pay attention to the clock, and we're going to get this thing started. So let me let our audience know who's in the building. Today we have Miss Ayanna Clark, Mr. Larry Lloyd, and Mr. Ronnie L. Mosley. They are all candidates for the 21st Ward Alderman. With that in mind, I think the way we're going to kick this thing off is I am going to, and look, this is the other thing we'll do. We will start this way, come back this way, then we'll come back this way, and essentially we'll try to make sure everybody gets an opportunity to start a question, okay? Now, I may start with you. If I start with you, bear with me, because it may be something that we want to get to, all right? So with that in mind, y'all ready? Everybody in the building ready? Y'all ready? Y'all ready? Y'all candidates, y'all ready? Let's get this thing cracking. All right, we'll begin this debate with a 1-minute introduction. Give us a 1-minute introduction. Tell us why you are running for alderman of the 21st Ward, and we'll start with you, Ms. Clark.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Ayanna Clark. I am a single mother and community advocate from the South Side of Chicago. I have been doing community work since I was 15 years old, mostly focusing on how I can make an impact for individuals like me who grew up in bad situations, who grew up homeless and have experienced the worst of what the city of Chicago has to offer. I switched my focus to politics after the shooting of Laquan McDonald because I am raising 2 black boys in this city, and I realized that if we want to have a real impact on our community, then we have to have people who are in positions of power who want to have change. I'm running for alderman because I think that the power of elected officials should rest in the hands of the people who elect them, and we have way too many seat holders in city council, in state government, and federal government that aren't doing anything to benefit our communities despite having faces that look like ours. And I know I look like a white woman right now, but I'm low-key black. So that is the reason why I'm running. I'm running to become the first alderwoman of the 21st Ward.
All right. Next up, Mr. Larry Lloyd. How are you, sir?
I'm good, sir. How's everybody today?
All right.
Good. Well, my name is Larry Lloyd. I was born and raised on the South Side Inglewood community. My wife and I have been living in the Washington Heights community for about the last 6 years. I am an attorney during the day, and at night, I want to practice politics, so that's why I'm doing this right now. But we have 4 kids. two of which are in college. And my reasons for running for the 21st Ward Aldermanic seat is this. For far too long, we've had leaders that have been sitting in those seats for years and decades and haven't done a thing for the community. We know what the 21st Ward was. We know how great it was and how great it can be going forward. We just need leadership that's going to actually do something to make sure that the resources that are available come to our ward and make sure that our ward is thriving. And it's a place it's a destination where people want to come, live, shop, and play. That really is what motivated my run for alderman for the 21st Ward.
Okay, so I want to also say that, you got a voice for radio, so you don't be coming for my job.
I got the phase 2, brother, so don't worry about it.
That's my same problem. All right, next up, Mr. Ronnie Mosley. Mr. Mosley, tell us why you are running for alderman? Why are you qualified to run for alderman?
I'm thankful to be here today. This is an amazing platform, and what you all do here is the work that's needed. I'm running to be the next alderman because I'm a proud son of this ward. This ward invested in me, and this is me repaying that investment. Grew up on 82nd and Laughlin, went to Cook School, Simeon, and it was actually at Simeon that I began fighting for better schools and safer communities. I was the student board member for the Board of Education, and when my friend Blair Holt was shot and killed leaving Julian High School on a bus, I stood up and started making our community safer. I went off to Morehouse College, met my wife, came back home, rejoined the local school councils. We bought our home together on 95th and Racine, and we see that our ward is at a crossroad. We know that this ward has to be better than its past, and to do that, it takes leadership. I have a proven track record that I can get that job done, and it's exactly what the 21st Ward deserves.
Awesome. I'm going to start with you, Mr. Mosley, and then I'm going to come back to you, Mr. Lloyd, and then Ayanna Clark. This will be a super quick, I'll give it for 15 seconds. What actually makes you qualified to run for alderman?
I worked in and with every level of government. I was called to work with the federal government, President Obama's White House administration, Office of Public Engagement, Department of Labor, Department of Education, State of Illinois, the Lieutenant Governor's Office, the Governor's Office, 8th Ward Alderman Michelle Harris. So I know what it means to be an alderman that's rooted in service. And again, I've been doing this work since I was 14 years old. I'm now 31.
Okay. Mr. Lloyd, what makes you qualified?
I think what makes me qualified is my background as far as my employment history. Given that we do have a lack of ethics and we definitely have a lack of trust and transparency in the current ward that we have right now, I think that was something that the residents of the ward are seeking. Doing that, also doing certain things in and around the community like Christmas and toy giveaways and turkey drops, things of that nature too, and just getting a chance to know that.
Thank you. Ms. Clark, 15 seconds. She said 15 seconds.
Because y'all put me under the fire. I done did a lot.
Okay,
so not only have I had to navigate a whole bunch of systems that are meant to service our community but have been harmful to our community, so I understand the reforms that are needed. I've worked under Congressman Rush for the last 3 years as his community advocate. I am an active member of 14 different organizations that attack poverty in our communities in multi-different ways. And like I said, I've been in the streets since I was 15.
14 organizations. Okay.
14 organizations.
Let me stop. I got to ask the question. How do you have time to work to be an active member in 14 organizations with 2 boys as a single mom? I just got to know how you manage that.
So my kids, since they were born, have always gone to work with me. They went to school when I was in college. They sat in the classroom with me. When I started teaching, they were right there with me. So my boys are very much so involved in my service organizations. And I have a really good system with my mom where she helps with them. Like she has them right now and they're doing their activities, but they also take an active role in serving the community with me because it's my life and I want to make it a part of theirs too.
Okay, thank you. I just was curious. 14. I was like, dang, you do 14 organizations. Ooh, it's a lot. All right, we are going to start with you, Mr. Lloyd. 30 seconds. What's the best thing about the 21st Ward? Give me a brag on the 21st Ward for me first.
I think the best thing about the 21st Ward is that even with the condition that it's in right now, the people haven't given up hope on their community. I think the community is still vibrant, still solidly middle class, and I do think that they have a lot of pride in the community, as I do as well. I think that that's probably the biggest thing that we can hang our hat on right now is that even though we have our issues, we still love and care for our community. We still have that pride, and we know that we can be better than what we are right now.
Okay. Mr. Mosley, brag on the 21st Ward for 15 seconds.
It's his people.
Let's say 15 or 30. 30, I'm sorry, 30.
It's his people, the folks that get up each and every day to go out into the city to make lives better for other people. I'm going to be that person at home that's making their life better. We know that the 21st ward is the largest ward of black voters and the highest turnout. I say that because that gives us the ability to demand resources from every level of government that improves our quality of life.
Okay. Ms. Clark, and I want to put a pin in that because I want to come back to that. Ms. Clark, give me 30-second brag on the 21st ward.
So there are two things I'll say. One, of course, the people, but when it comes to our community members, it's our vision and our resilience. As I've been knocking on doors, I see the vision that our community members have, and I see their will to get it done underneath the right leadership. So moving forward, we just want to make sure that we're allowing people's visions to come true, and we're working toward a ward that works for everybody.
Okay. Let me stop for a second, right? So I've heard everybody kind of criticize the leadership in the 21st ward, right? Talk about the decline of the ward. So my question is, what is it that you think you can do differently? I want to stop for a minute because I think about Alderman Howard Brookins, right? And a lot of times everybody gives Alderman Brookins a whole bunch of hell. Alderman Brookins is a personal friend of mine, just for for tickles and giggles. But Alderman Howard Brookins was always resistant to Mayor Daley, right? And that resistance to Mayor Daley, in my estimation, is part of the reason that he kept getting reelected, because he fought the mayor. The mayor. Since he's been there, I know that they built the shopping center, right? He got the Walmart, the Lowe's, the commercial corridor that's right off of the expressway. It seems like there's a lot of hypercriticism of Alderman Brookins. Tell me how you would distinguish yourself, and what is it that you think you would be able to do different than Alderman Brookins as it relates to trying to bring the ward up? And I'll start with you, Mr. Mosley.
Actually,
we'll do 30 seconds.
I actually have the endorsement of Alderman Brookins, and I'm going to build off of that legacy of bringing destinations to the 21st ward. We have to have those Class A retailers like the Walmart, like the Lowe's and so forth that everybody looks for. And when we place our small business owners next to them, they benefit from that foot traffic. What I think is missing is the overall comprehensive plan. That's my background, urban planning. I've done it before. I've built business districts. When you have that collaboration, you see better results.
Mr. Lloyd.
I think when you bring up the name Alderman Brookins, you get a wide range of responses from the people in the ward. You have to give the devil his due, and the fact that the stuff that you already mentioned that he brought to the ward. However, what you also want to do is make sure that you're engaging the community to make sure that they're getting the businesses and services in the ward that they're seeking, not what you simply want to have come forward in the ward. So by doing that, you have to be collaborative. You have to make sure that you understand the needs and the wants of the residents, and you make sure that those businesses and small entrepreneurs in particular are supported and want to actually open up and bring their businesses to the ward.
Okay, Mr. Lloyd. Ms. Clark, talk to me.
So two things. One, when it comes to bringing businesses to the ward, I don't agree with that. I think we should be birthing businesses from the community members that already live there. We have had thriving business districts that were not attached to white-owned businesses that come to our communities, take our money, and leave. And we can have those thriving districts again. When you look across the city of Chicago, there are multiple communities that have those opportunities for their residents, but outside of that, communication. Our community has been left behind. We don't know what's going on, and that office has not been responsive.
Okay. I'm going to come back to that too, but we'll let that slide. Not slide. We'll stop at that right there. This should be a simple one. I'm going to start with you, Ms. Clark, and this should be a yes or no answer. Do you support monetary reparations for American descendants of slavery?
Yes.
Mr. Lloyd, do you support monetary reparations? Mr. Mosley?
Yes.
Okay. Let me come back to you, Mr. Mosley. Do you support the right of undocumented immigrants or migrants to vote in any municipal election? Yes or no?
No.
Mr. Lloyd?
Absolutely not.
Ms. Clark?
No.
All right. You all talked about thriving businesses in the community. And there's a new term that's out. It's called Middle Eastern North Africans, MENA. And quite often when I drive through the 21st ward, I see a lot of the businesses that are brought to the ward are owned by Middle Eastern North Africans. And quite frankly, because of their economics, as well as the amount of business that they actually have a pretty large say in what happens. How do you birth businesses in our community with the lack of resources and knowing that there is a thriving business community that really works to keep us out of business in the ward? Ms. Clark. And I'm going to make that a minute question.
Okay.
That'll be a minute. Get my time right.
I don't think the issue is lack of resources. I think the issue has been lack of actually exposing the community to those resources. I worked for the federal government, which means that I have studied the way that business funding works and how it trickles down to state and local government. And there are a lot of programs that are out there for our community. As aldermen, it is your job to try and facilitate not just those conversations, but those opportunities, offering training, advocating for your community, positioning people to be able to open those businesses and allowing them to have a bigger say. One of the reasons why I fight for campaign finance reform is so that those business owners who aren't from our community, who don't care about the well-being of our community, we don't want their voices drowning out the voices of residents who live here, residents who are invested in the community, and residents who deserve to have an opportunity for economic mobility. But it's going to take all of us across the city who look like us to push for that change.
Okay, Mr. Lloyd.
I think in our ward, we definitely know that we have the talent and the people that can actually have the ideas to bring forth great businesses. I think the problem is the communication, that they don't know how to get access to certain capital and certain grants and things that may be available to them. I think making sure that they're aware of that will definitely go a long way towards making sure that we're more represented in our community. Secondly, what I would like to see is the same concept that they had with the Bronzeville box concept, to bring that to our ward as well, where you birth and you give the young entrepreneurs a chance and a space that they may not be able to otherwise afford to come in and try to get their businesses off the ground and make sure that they are actually being able to provide services that they otherwise wouldn't be able to because they simply don't have either the money for the space or the capital. And I think that that's something that will go a long way towards making sure that our ward is more representative, especially the businesses that we want to see in our ward.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Mosley.
I don't see any lack of innovation, the products, the services in our community from folks in our community. It's making sure that we have the LLCs. It's making sure that we have our SAMs and our DUNs and so forth, that we are GRATA certified so that we can get the money from the federal government, the state, and so forth. Those seminars are going to happen in my office. There's also going to be a business advisory council that I'm going to support. And then lastly, I'll say that we have folks doing this work right now in our community. Where my office is located, it is the brainchild of a former resident of the 21st Ward, Cassandra Seawood, who is opening up on the same block a restaurant, a stop and go where you can do your packing, shipping, printing, a salon suite, so that, she heard the cries about too many barbershops, too many beauty salons. She put them all into one space. And then next to that is my office. We have to support those things. We have to lift those up and show that these are great examples.
So I'm listening to all of you all, and you have very innovative ideas as it relates to what you would do as alderman. But tell me, what is the actual job description of the alderman? Because I often think, I look at a lot of lofty goals, etc. But I'm curious to know, what is your belief as the actual role of the city of Chicago alderman? I'll start with you, Mr. Mosley.
Yeah, I've learned from being in an alderman's office that the number one job, the number one primary service or duties, responsibilities of the alderman is to expedite city services. Second to that is being an advocate for your community in the legislative process. Anything that passes in City Hall takes 26 votes. So when a person gets up and says, hey, I'm going to do this, have they checked and got 25 other people to make sure that they can deliver on that promise? The things that I'm talking about, I've not only done, I have the relationships and the knowledge to get it done.
Okay, thank you. 30 seconds. Mr. Lloyd.
I think the role of the alderman gets lost a lot of times because people get into that office and they forget that you're there to serve the people and the constituents of that ward. They get in it and they do it for themselves. Your biggest role as the alderman is to make sure that services and resources are made available to your constituents and that they know about them, because it's not going to do them any good if you do these things and you have them, but the residents don't know about them. but you are supposed to be their biggest advocate. And if there's anything that's going wrong in that ward and they come to you about it, you need to make sure that you're on top of that and make sure the problem is resolved. Because if they're not happy, you're not doing your job.
Okay, Ms. Clark?
If we go by like the technical definition of what an alderman is supposed to do, of course we vote on city budget, we vote on legislation, we sit on committees, we serve as a liaison between the community and city departments. But I think that we need to reimagine that role because aldermen have the most direct impact on our lives. Everything from street lights to sidewalks to what schools are open, what resources we have, that falls within the wheelhouse of an alderperson. And I think if we stop looking for people to just do their jobs and start demanding that they do a little bit more, we'll be in a better position.
Okay. You all talked about the alderman's office and the jobs and the roles and responsibilities. Let's go a lot of times. Well, let's back up. Each alderman gets $1.5 million in menu money. Now, it's interesting to me when I talk to people because they like, you got $1.5 million. What you doing with that money? And it costs $100,000 just to pave a street. It costs $70,000 to get a stoplight, right? It costs another $30,000 to get a street light, right? I know these things. I used to be the chief of staff in the 18th Ward, right? And so what I often think about is this thought that there's this infinite amount of money and resources that an alderman has. Tell me, how do you manage the expectations of service and city services for your constituents with $1.5 million? Talk to me, Larry, about how you prioritize that $1.5 million so that you don't have your constituents angry with you because they got a cracked sidewalk. And I'll start with you.
Yeah, I think what we have to
30 seconds. Sorry.
I think we have to do is make sure that they understand that $1.5 million, it sounds like a lot, but it's not a lot of money. What we used to have is precinct captains in each ward, and what they would do is report to the alderman as far as what needs to be done. My thing would be to create advisory councils in each of the precincts so we have direct input from the community as to what the priorities are. At that point, you take the projects as they come. Okay, you let the residents know we have this pot of money. We understand that this is a major thing, that you have these 2 craters in your road. We're going to take care of those first. If we don't get to it at this point, we'll have a timeline so they'll know exactly what's going to happen and when it's going to take place.
So, Mr. Lloyd, I want to come back to that because I guess my question is, if you are taking over from Alderman Brookins, who's probably got 18 years worth of service because he's been having all those things stack up, how do you prioritize those people now?
Like I said earlier, you want to make sure that you go through and find out what the services requests are and how long they've been pending. And especially if there's something where it's a major issue that's just been just hanging out there for a long time, you get on that as quickly as you possibly can. You don't let these people wait any longer. You make sure that you get on that and just prioritize those projects that are there.
You paying for the sidewalk? Because I'm telling you, the sidewalk list is 20 years long.
We know. We already know. So that's something that we'll get the funding for it.
Okay, so here we go. Mm-hmm. So we'll get the funding for it. There's $1.5 million. Why would you be different? Why didn't Alderman Brookins be able to get that money? I guess my question is because we say I'm going to go get that funding, and that's it sounds great right here, and I'm going to come back to all you. I'm not picking on you. Oh. But I listen to people make kind of broad statements. And obviously when you're not an elected official, you can say a lot of stuff. But I'm saying, having had a sidewalk list in my desk that was 20 years old, I guess my question is, where do you say we're going to get the funding from? Where does that funding come from?
Well, the way that I look at it is this. I can't speak to why his list may have been long. All I can do is say this. We have the money. We know what we have to do. You have to go to the areas that are in most need. And it's probably that list is probably the areas that have been waiting for the longest. You have to take that money and prioritize that project. And especially on the blocks where you have lots of seniors, those are the areas that you target first because those are it's most dangerous for them. They're walking up and down the street and they can't do so safely because they have this sidewalk that's been busted up for how many years now? So you want to make sure you prioritize that first. Wherever the seniors are, you take care of those areas and you come back and you let the residents know we're going to come back to this when we get another pot of money.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Clark. Yeah. $1.5 million. How you spending the money?
Well, I believe in participatory budgeting, so what I spend the money on is actually going to come from the community. I think that most people who live here should have a say in what happens. But again, 1.5 is is like the bottom of the bucket, and working for the federal government, I understand how that grants process works, right? I know that every year the federal government allows our congresspeople to pick 10 projects out of their district up to $3 million to fund. I know what that application process looks like. I have a relationship with our current congressman that's over our ward. Can I finish?
You can finish your statement.
Okay. I have that relationship with him. I know that we can go talk to our state senators and our state reps to free up some of our menu money that would go to other things by getting them to fund other projects in our ward. So managing expectations, clear communication, allowing people to see where money has been allocated already, where the shortfalls are, and what my plans are to get them is going to be key to not only rebuilding our community, but having residents feel empowered during that process.
Okay. Mr. Mosley, I'm going to give you 1 minute since we gave everybody 1 minute.
I believe in participatory budgeting, but we have to understand that 1.5 million is equal but not equitable, right? We have over 550 blocks in the 21st ward. Land mass, we are one of the largest. So if you said it's $100,000, if we spend all of that money just replacing streets, right, we would only do, 15 blocks?
And that's in, yes.
15 out of the over 550. So what I'm going to do is have that participatory budgeting. I also know things that you can use in the city. So when people are talking about their sidewalks, maybe we put it in for a trip program as opposed to replacing the entire block and let the city pay for it. That doesn't come out of the menu money. And then in those instances where we have our plan, I'm going to reach out to those folks who support me, folks like the state senator, LG Sims, to see what DCO dollars I can get. Commissioner Stanley Moore, see what county capital improvement dollars I can get. We need that in the 21st ward to actually deliver and show that we are making progress, because those smaller wards, they can do a quarter of their wards, and it's gonna, I'm not doing anything if you compare the two.
Thank you, Mr. Mosley. All right. What time is it? It is 10:41. All right, we're going to do this question, and then we're going to take a quick break. I'm going to let y'all get some water, go to the bathroom, and then we'll be right back after that. But let me jump into let me ask this question. Ms. Clark, we'll start with you. More police or less? Mr.
Can we explain that, though?
Hold on.
When you say that, that sounds radical.
Hold on. More
it is a little
Clark,
radical,
Ms.
however,
Clark
comma.
Said, hold on. Okay, so we'll come back to it.
Okay.
Mr. Lloyd, more police or less in the 21st ward?
Less.
Mr. Mosley, more police or less in the 21st ward?
Less.
Okay. That's interesting. As one of the wards with the most seniors, oftentimes I hear seniors saying they want more police, right? They want more police because they, as we've seen in the mayor's race and in every city or every case around here, crime and safety and public safety, which is one of the biggest responsibilities of the alderman, is the people in the community are asking for more police. How do you manage the ideals? Because it seems like there's a cultural difference, right? But our seniors are saying, give us more police. We see Willie Wilson saying, hunt them down like rabbits, right? How do you match today with the reality, today's idea of policing with the reality of crime that is propagating in our neighborhoods? I'll start with you, Mr. Mosley, and we'll come back this way.
I say less because a few things. One, we got to realize when seniors are saying that, they're saying they don't want to live in fear. We also have to deal with the reality that there's been a shortage of police. My plans around that is we have sworn officers who are doing administrative work that everyday citizens can be doing. I want to see them back on the street. And then also we got to be smart on crime. We call the police after a crime happens. We got to attack poverty. We got to attack homelessness. We got to attack hunger. Those are the things that increase crime. And so in doing that, and we got to have mental health services. And I think those folks should come from the Chicago Department of Public Health, not the police department.
Thank you. Mr. Lloyd?
Yeah, similar to candidate Mosley, when we say less police, we mean that we have vacancies that we already need to have filled. We don't want to add additional police beyond that. What we want to do is make sure that we're smart and make sure that those the vacancies that are getting filled, that they're being targeted to areas where the seniors are, because they are a large portion of our ward, and we definitely want them to feel safe. With that as well, you also want to make sure that you're doing services where you have something for the youth that are committing these crimes, where you have the mental health services, you have other opportunities for them to do something other than engaging in crime. So that's where, when you say less police, that's what I mean. Just fill the vacancies that we have, make sure that they're protecting the seniors and not adding above the amount that we normally would have for the force.
Ms. Clark, and
Police can not prevent crime. They can mitigate crime. They can respond to crime. Even in our ward, this was about a month ago, I want to say, there was someone who was killed right in front of the 22nd District Police Department, and they did not catch the individual that did it. And so when we're looking at the role of police in our communities, yes, it is a temporary solution, and yes, our seniors will feel safer for the moment, but even if we arrested every single person in our community who was committing crimes, we would have the same problem again in 2 weeks unless we address the root causes. Making sure people are employed, making sure our children are educated, and making sure we have access to mental health services so that our children know how to deal with trauma.
Real quickly, and then I'm going to take a break. Tell me, tell me the various communities what are the ward boundaries? I'll start with you, Ms. Clark. Or actually, let me not say what are the ward boundaries. Tell me what are the communities that make up the 21st ward.
Okay, so we have Washington Heights, we have a little bit of West Pullman, we have a small part of Beverly, we have Auburn Gresham, and we have, what is the last one? Morgan Park.
You helping out, you cheated. No, just let
small, very small portion of
six. Washington Heights, Roseland, Morgan Park, Auburn Gresham, Chatham,
West Pullman.
West Pullman.
I'll look at that.
And then roughly we go 83rd to 123rd.
And Roseland.
Westland,
yeah.
yes, Roseland.
And Roseland.
83rd to 123rd, Wentworth to Hermitage.
Okay, so y'all collaborated on that. I like that collaboration.
And those, just for clarification, because we get flack on this, those are the official 77.
Yeah, the official 77 communities, not sub-communities.
That has not changed since 1920.
Okay, now let me ask. When you talk about that, though, when we talk about these diverse communities, there was just a remap, right? There was just a new remap, and one of the things I keep hearing everyone talk about is communication, right? Is communication. Mr. Lloyd, Mr. Mosley, and then I'll come to you, and then we're going to take a break. How would you effectively communicate with the existing ward and then incorporate the new people that are in the ward? What tools would you use?
One of the tools I would use, you can use the postal service. A lot of people don't engage with social media, and a lot of people are not on Facebook, so they're not going to check it to see what's going on in their ward. That would be the first step that you would do. The next thing you can do is certainly get out and actually knock on doors and let them know what's going on in the neighborhood. Leave them a newsletter, because a lot of people simply just don't watch news, or they're just apathetic, and they just don't get into those other services. You want to make sure that you're engaging them and that you actually go to their doors.
30 seconds. I'm sorry. Mr. Mosley.
Yes. I'll do things like have meetings, both physically and virtually. I'm going to keep up the constituent night. I'm going to keep up the monthly meetings. And I'm going to have quarterly meetings where we invite departments to our community so they can hear why we aren't getting the services and the turnaround time that we've been expecting it. I'm also going to meet folks where they are. Grocery stores, local businesses. I'm going to have a newsletter that will be available at the office and emailed out. It'll be on our social and so forth. I don't want to spend the money on postage. It takes a lot of money. It takes $15,000 to mail targeted people in the 21st ward. So
you know that because you've been mailing people. I'm just stopping. Ms. Clark, what tools would you use to communicate with the constituents and make sure that they're engaged?
I think one of the advantages that I have is that both of my degrees are in communication. So this is my specialty. This is my wheelhouse. So I plan to, of course, do door-to-door canvassing. We're going to have our monthly ward meetings. We're going to have our weekly ward nights. But I also want to institute aldermen on the block because I know that people have a distrust when it comes to government. So I want to make sure that we're meeting people where they are and we're empowering our block clubs and our community organizations to disseminate information and make sure that we're accessing some of those areas that don't have access to internet, that don't have access to some of our normal modes of communication.
All right. With that in mind, we are going to take a moment. We're going to take a quick break. This is the Maze Jackson Show. I'm your host, Maze Jackson. We are doing the last chance candidate debate. You are talking to the candidates from the 21st Ward. We have Miss Ayanna Clark, Mr. Larry Lloyd, and Mr. Ronnie L. Mosley. Now, when we come back, y'all want me to get messy before or after the break? We're going to do it after the break. No, we're going to do it. Look, we got a couple, I got a couple zingers in there. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I got a question that I want to ask, and then we're going to take another break right around 8:10, and then we'll get into some of the meat, and we want to make sure that you all have the opportunity to engage. If you are listening or watching, Miss Ayanna Clark, Mr. Larry Lloyd, and Mr. Ronnie L. Mosley are physically in the building here to answer the questions that black people want to know. Now, how many candidates are in the race?
7 and 2 write-ins.
7 and 2 write-ins. We have 3 candidates in the building. I want to make sure that you are clear when we put out the call to ask the question, what's in it for the black people who came? So I'm going to read the names who are here one more time. Miss Ayanna Clark, Mr. Larry Lloyd, and Mr. Ronnie L. Mosley. Look, y'all, this is the Maze Jackson Show. We'll be back after these messages.
The Maze Jackson Show. We'll be back after this break.
We can count on Paul Vallis. When Paul Vallis was CEO of Chicago Public Schools, he revitalized our neighborhood schools. No one delivered more for our underserved young people than Paul Vallis. As mayor, Paul Vallis will ensure that communities long neglected get a fair share of city investment, attracting the grocery stores we need, improving sanitation, and other city services in our neighborhoods. Vote Paul Vallis, a mayor for all of us. Paid for by Vallis for Mayor.
Willie Wilson for mayor of Chicago. The violence in Chicago must stop. Willie Wilson pledges real action to do that. A revised police structure, 4 superintendents, more accessible to their neighborhoods, providing faster communication and concentration of resources. Willie Wilson pledges more integrated police patrols to increase community, confidence, and cooperation. Willie Wilson's pledge will make Chicago safer. Finally, Chicago, do it right. Willie Wilson for mayor.
Black girl, hustle. You know I gotta secure that bag. And you know I gotta hustle. Y'all know, 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 y'all know the hustle. Nigga gon' hustle. 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 Get that bag. I need my money. I want the money. I need my money. I want the money. I need my money. I want the money. I need my money. My trinket, my trinket, my trinket, my trinket. Y'all know the hustle for that bag.
Back to the Maze Jackson Show. You are listening to the most dangerous show. This is What's in It for the Black People Radio. Maze Jackson. Maze Jackson, the most vociferous advocate for black people in the world.
What's in it for the black people? Cause economically we are not equal. Waking up to lies, can't doze no more. I told y'all, yeah, this a dangerous show. Don't go to church if you ain't trying to help us. Don't even try to be around and can't protect us. We see the lies, not other politicians. We need money and no symbolism. It's Mace and Riis and Ruthie and Ty, explaining how we all come from God, giving us tools to beat the odds. If we united, our movement gon' stop. If they ain't tryna help us, they ain't tryna do nothing. We gotta do something, we gotta stop running. It's time to confront the problem. Really, you expect your oppressed to solve wrong.
Wake up, Chicago! Wake up, world. This is the Maze Jackson Show. Hey, Miss Clark, no free ads for them people right there.
For them, you can see it.
I just took it down. There, you good. You good. I just have to change my camera angles.
I had it on the floor.
It's all good. I do the same thing every day. Every day. But you know, the brothers, right now there's a planned boycott. So you don't want the brothers to be on you, right? So you trying to...
We boycotting Dunkin' Donuts? I'll
just
start making my own coffee.
Good Lord, I don't know what I'm going to do in the morning. I'm going to have to... I'll go to Peaches and get me some coffee. But anyway, y'all, this is the Maze Jackson Show. I'm your host, Maze Jackson. Got my man, DJ Riis, the ruler, on the ones and twos. And we are in the 21st Ward Last Chance Candidate Debate. This has been... First of all, I want to compliment you all again on the congeniality that you all have displayed in the meantime. So I just want to make sure that I congratulate you on that. I think it's important that as we have these conversations and as we get through this process, that we don't cause irreparable damage to our relationships. Because quite frankly, as I look and listen, and I'm going to tell you, listening to everybody here, I think that you all will be a benefit to the ward. It is my sincere hope that regardless of who is the winner, that you all will be involved and will be part of the solution, part of getting the answer that we ask every day, what's in it for the black people. And I would say that by your answers, you all seem to be somewhere in that space. So I just want to compliment you on your congeniality. Can I get my studio audience, my live studio audience, to make a little noise so the people can know we ain't in here by ourselves? All right, that's what I'm talking about. And Riis with the enhancements, you know what I'm saying? Riis hit y'all with the enhancements, so we sound good live. So I'm gonna go here right now. Mr. Mosley, there was an article in the Chicago Crusader that suggested that you were not truthful about your academic credentials. I think the headline reads, 21st candidate fabricated Morehouse academic credentials. Respond to it, Mr. Mosley. Talk to me. What is it that did you what does it say? I'm reading what they said.
Mm-hmm.
Did you fabricate your Morehouse academic credentials? If you did not, what's the confusion? What happened? What don't we understand? And I'll go to you right now.
Yes. It comes down to, and I'm being very clear on this, I do not yet have my degree from Morehouse College. I've attended Morehouse College for a number of years. There was a struggle there financially and personally that impeded on my studies. Never gave up there at Morehouse College. Again, went there and studied for multiple years in other colleges to make sure that I was getting an education. What I don't appreciate is trying to politicize my hardships. I won't accept that.
Okay, well, so what did they get wrong? And I think, so let's back up in the game, right? In politics, we understand that that's part of the opposition research. They're going to go down. People are going to go through your stuff with a fine-tooth comb. Having been a victim of being politicized, that's part of the game at this point. So I want to understand, where was the confusion and why is it such a big deal? Why is it such a big deal?
Yeah. So I do speak and say that I'm a Morehouse man. I do say that I'm an alum. Those are things that have even been confirmed by the Alumni Association. The reporter even reached out to me and said, hey, the Alumni Association says they don't know you. So I shared my receipts that I'm a financially active member, that I'm a thousandaire member at the Lifetime. So this is local and nationally. And again, the Brothers of Morehouse College has confirmed it. Morehouse College Association cannot endorse the candidate, but they can speak to my membership. They can speak to my activeness in the association.
And then let me ask finally, do you think that it was deceptive? Do you think that it could have been perceived as, we all know that the stature that Morehouse holds in the black community, right? It's like when you say you're a Morehouse man, people, they have a different perspective. There's the tradition, the Dr. Kings, all of that, and it does enhance you, right, in the perspective of our people. Do you believe that it could have been perceived deceptively by constituents?
I do understand why some folks can feel that way. And again, the brothers have talked to the work that I've done, the work that qualifies me to be the Morehouse man, that I've lived out those values, what I've done on campus and what I've done since leaving the campus and even far in between.
And when you gonna finish? Do you have a degree?
No, I don't have my degree from them yet. So
anybody?
I'm sorry?
College degree from anybody?
No.
Okay.
No, I studied the bulk of everything at Morehouse College. What has been part of it is because I went to community colleges as well while attending at Morehouse College so that I can continue my education. And Morehouse has some disagreements about what can transfer back in once you start matriculating at Morehouse College.
Okay. Any other questions on that issue? We addressed it. Everybody clear? All right. Move. Anybody? Somebody, did I hear something in the back? All right. All right. This will go to, I'm going to start with you, Mr. Lloyd. I'll go to you, Ms. Clark, and then I'll end with you, Mr. Mosley, since you just got off the hot seat. Mr. Larry Lloyd. There's a migrant shelter in the 21st Ward. How do you respond to that? And as the alderman, will you support that migrant shelter remaining in the 21st Ward? Turn up his mic. Go ahead.
No, just the same way I didn't support the one that was in Woodlawn. You have residents that have been in these wards for years, and they were asking for and crying out for the same services that the city and the state leaped into action to provide for them. The city came up with $30 million for a migrant shelter, and we asked for simple stuff like we were talking about earlier, sidewalks, services, and things of that nature. We can't get that, but we spring into action for what they're going to use, and I'm just going to say it, and it may cost me, for a future voting block. That's really what this is about, and nothing more.
Ms. Clark, there's a migrant shelter in the 21st Ward. Do you support it, and as alderman, will you continue to support it?
I have a different opinion because I have been homeless. I spent most of my childhood homeless, so I believe that everybody should have the opportunity to have housing. What I will say is, for far too long, it has been an either-or approach, and other communities have been given resources that we have not had access to. But again, if you have a person who is in a position of power, who is in the seat, and who is advocating for our community, then it doesn't matter what people are doing for other communities if we have what we need. And that boils down to leadership.
Okay, Mr. Mosley.
Yeah. These resources that have come available, I want to know where they've been and how we can have access to them as well. What's happening here is we have a federal issue that the federal government has not solved. We have governors from Texas sending folks to Chicago and forcing us to deal with those problems. I believe in human rights. Again, shelter, those things of the nature, they're here in our city. We got to figure something out how to do with that. But again, we got to keep pushing the federal government to solve this because it's eating away at money that we need from the state and the city.
So will you continue to support the migrant shelter that is in the 21st Ward if you are alderman?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Larry Lloyd, you brought up an interesting point on this conversation, and I want to dive into it a little bit. We have seen a tremendous outward migration of black people in Chicago. A lot of the wards, particularly, I think back to the 21st Ward, the 8th Ward, when the 8th Ward, the 6th Ward, when all of those were like the power wards. You won those wards. It was always Beverly, and then it was the top 8 wards in that southwest between southwest and southeast side, from the 8th Ward, 8th Ward, 6th Ward, 18. I can't think of them all. But what we've seen is that they've all fallen. Last night here was Paul Rosenfeld in the 42nd Ward, who is now the largest, not 42nd, 47th Ward, which is also now the largest vote getting ward in the city of Chicago. And when we talk about these migrant shelters, I think 10 years ago, there was the migrant moves that were happening in the city of Chicago, but we were still kind of at the top of the voting rank. And now we really have fallen. And so when you think about these migrant shelters being put in our neighborhoods, there is going to be a population shift, right? It is happening. We've seen it. We're seeing it happen in Woodlawn. So my question is, knowing that you are willing to support, or knowing that these migrant shelters are coming, talk to me about what do you do to protect the black population that's already here, that is looking, saying we're about to be moved out of here. Talk to me about that. I watched Dick Durbin come on TV, because, I get in trouble for saying we're being replaced, right? And then Dick Durbin comes on TV, and he says, look, we have, matter of fact, Riis, turn me up I'll bring it back. I don't have it with me right now. But Dick Durbin says we need the migrants to come because we have people who our birth rates are low, and because we need people to fill these jobs. It does seem like they're trying to replace us in some way. Help me understand, how do we manage this influx of migrants while we are watching black people massively exodus? Somebody dinging my question? The massive exodus of black people leaving. Make those two things jibe for me. You're supporting the bringing people into neighborhoods that we know as they become depopulated, then we get replaced. And then in 10 years, when you having this conversation and you supported the migrant shelter and now they done bought the houses around the place, you are now talking about we got to save us. How does this work? Talk to me about, how do you plan for the future, knowing that somewhere in this space there's a plan for us not to be here? You saw it in the remap fight where Chewy Garcia, who is the progressive champion, led the charge to knock our people out. Talk to me about that. I'll start with you, Ms. Clark, because you is a both end. And then I'll come to you, Mr. Mosley, and then I'll come to you, Mr. Lloyd, because you was like, hey, they trying to replace us. Talk to me about that.
I would ask that you give us a little additional time because this is a complicated issue. I'll say this. We have had more Black elected officials in city council than any other race, right? And our communities still look like this. So when we're talking about political power, it doesn't matter how many of us you have sitting in a seat if we're not actually actively bringing resources to our communities. So a few of the things that I'm working on right now to make sure that not only am I improving the quality of life for Black residents, but I'm empowering us to stay in our neighborhoods. I'm working with the Hope Center Foundation. They just announced a plan to not only build 1,000 homes in Pullman, West Pullman, and Roseland, but they created a series of programs to funnel Black community members and prepare them to purchase their homes and stay in their homes. In addition to that, they're providing resources to current homeowners to fix up their homes and make sure that our neighborhood looks cohesive. Outside of that, I'm working with organizations like Hustle Mommies to empower Black women to open and maintain businesses in our ward. I'm a member of the Young Leaders Fund, working with Chicago Community Trust to empower community organizations to provide social services.
I'll stop you there. I gotta stop you there. Mr. Mosley.
Starts with making sure that our seniors have the resources that are available to them, the tax exemptions, the senior freezes, to make sure that they can afford their taxes, and we aren't having folks who paid 30 plus years on a home losing it for taxes. And then also when we have new homeowners that are coming, let's first talk about, again, those seniors who have been here for 50 years but won't necessarily be here for the next 50 years. What are we doing to keep that generational wealth or that home in the family? How are we transferring it to, again, where it's not a tax burden once they become in receivership of it? And how are we increasing homeowners? My wife and I bought our home while we were planning our wedding. So, I'm going to take that same vigor that we did to make sure that we were homeowners and share that with other folks. I'm also going to build more senior homes because, again, this aging population that has maintained our community deserves to stay in our community. They shouldn't have to go somewhere else. I've done the work of improving schools, which is the number one reasons why families move. I served on a local school council as a student and then lastly, we got to have safe communities.
So I heard a lot in that, but I'm not exactly sure what I heard as to what we're going to do, understanding that there's a competition and that, like, even if you build, let me just touch on the senior homes. Even if you build a senior home in the community, they're going to be built there, and then they're probably not going to live, please forgive me, a very, 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 very long time. And if you take them out of their homes and put them into the senior building, then their homes become available, right? And then what we see is then when those homes become available, then we see people snapping them up, and then again, we wind up not being. I would give you the example of the 18th ward, right? Where when I lived in 18, the black folks went all the way to Cicero, right? It was Cicero. Then you cross Cicero, and that's where it started to be the remainder of the white folks and the Latino community. Right now, if you go to the 18th ward, the line is now Kedzie, right? And very shortly, it will be Western. And then shortly after that, it will be Ashland. So I guess what I'm looking at is, as we talk about this, and we have a pretty liberal approach to this because it sounds very good, right? But the reality is, in 10 years, the same ward that you're talking about, you'll be looking at a whole different population. Mr. Lloyd, talk to me about the replacement, your concept of the replacement with the migrants.
I think as it relates to this issue, like I said earlier, the reason why you have a ton of people that are moving out of the ward is simply because they don't feel safe. They don't have the resources that they need. They also don't have the options. So they're moving to places like Tennessee. They're going back to places like Texas. They're going to Mississippi, simply because they don't have the services and the resources that they need. So you now look at the situation where if they don't feel safe and they don't feel that they have hope and there's opportunity for them and their children, of course you're going to leave and you're going to go elsewhere to try to make sure that you give your family the best opportunity to thrive. However, what you want to do is make sure that we do those things now while we can before we see this replacement gets worse than what it's going to be. Because we all see it, we all know it's coming, but we have to make sure that as we're representing us, we're making sure that we have what we need to make it attractive for us to stay.
Can I just ask, and I'm gonna throw this out here. Why does it feel as though when we have these conversations, we tend to we compromise our own self-interest to be inclusive for everybody else when we go around to every other place and they protect their own self-interest. Help me understand, and I look at, like, we can clearly see that the map will, if you support these policies, that in 10 years, you'll be looking at being replaced yourself in the aldermanic spot. Why is it that it feels as though our black self-interest seem to be coupled with the Latino self-interest on our side? But then when we talk about the Latinos, you don't hear nobody saying we're going to do the same thing. And I know it's not politically correct, but it is the reality. And so oftentimes we are put in these positions where if you say, no, I don't want the migrant shelter, or no to bringing people into your neighborhood who we're not welcome in those neighborhoods. You seen any black businesses on 26th Street? No. You don't see us in those places. So I guess my question is for our candidates that recognize that the population shifts are happening and you are welcoming it to our space. Are you setting us up to be removed for the future? I'll go to you, Ms. Clark, and then I'll go to you, Mr. Mosley. And you all feel free. Like, if there's something that I said that you are in disagreement with, please let me know. I'm happy to discuss it.
I'll say this. One of the reasons that migrant facilities have been able to come up so quickly is because, like you said, the Hispanic community advocates for their own. If we had the same energy for black communities and we advocated for ourselves the way that they're advocating for resources for them, our communities would not look like this. I've said several times, we have a lot of black elected officials across the city of Chicago, and black folk in some spaces, yes, they're being pushed out, gentrification is happening, and there are things that we can do to slow it down. But the reality is our communities have been neglected for so long that community members have given up on building them up, and they've chosen to leave for a better life for them and their children. So when we're talking about people pushing us out, it's our people who were in positions of power who left our communities behind that pushed us out. I'm never going to be mad at another race, another organization for advocating for their own, because I know when it comes down to it, I'm always advocating for mine. But we cannot not accept responsibility for the way that our communities look when we have had people in positions of power who have ignored us and collected checks.
Thank you. Mr. Mosley.
Yeah, to answer your question, I think there's we empathize with other communities because of the struggles and the oppressions that we've had. But also we got to look at, there was an opportunity to do this in the 21st Ward. We had schools that were closed. What was the plan for them? We let somebody else have a plan for our own community. That's why I'm strong on community planning. And that's why I'm strong on the actions that we need to take. There are folks coming back that are my age, maybe even a little older, that my mother won't be here for the next 50 years. I'm going to take that house. My grandmother won't be here for the next 50 years. I'm going to take that house. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the transfer of real estate and how people, we all know somebody who gave their son who lived in the basement the home, and then it just continuously went down. I'm going to change that by having resources and the access to those resources so folks know how to be great homeowners and great neighbors.
Okay. I'm going to let it ride right there. This is the part that I like. I really enjoy this part. So, one person, one question. One person, one question. You all three are here. It's usually a little bit more spirited when we got more people here. But I just want to remind you, the three people that showed up, Miss Ayanna Clark, Mr. Larry Lloyd, and Mr. Ronnie Mosley. Ayanna Clark, Larry Lloyd, Mr. Ronnie Mosley. You get one question for one person on the panel. One question for one person on the panel. You can ask them whatever. Just can't ask them out. No, I'm just playing. You get to ask one question, one person on the panel. We will start with you, Miss Ayanna Clark.
I think you should start somewhere else because I'm going to have to think about that one.
Who debate is this? Who debate is this? You better get the cracking. I usually give you people. Ronnie, would you like to go first?
I would, and I'll actually ask Ayanna. We just reestablished the 21st Ward Young Dems under Alderman Brookins, who's the committeeman. Would you join the 21st Ward Young Dems?
Yes, And I want to go on record, since we're talking about the 21st Ward Young Dems, there was a mailer that was put out by another candidate that said that he was the slated candidate for that organization. That mailer is false. It's untrue. And he is not the slated candidate for Democrats in the city. You want me to call him out? Because you're looking at me like you want me to call him out.
Man,
Quaylee Quaza put out a palm card. It was one in my door yesterday when I got home that said that he was the slated candidate along with Willie Wilson and somebody else for the 21st Ward Democratic Committee, and that is untrue. He is not the slated candidate.
Who is that? Is that a slated candidate? All right, we'll stop.
There is no slated candidate. They chose not to endorse in the race. They certified 3 candidates, and the 3 candidates that they certified are the 3 who are sitting at this table right now.
Okay, I got to understand what that organization is, but we're going to come back to that. Mr. Larry Lloyd, Attorney Lloyd.
Not today.
Not today? Oh, you ain't got your law hat on? Okay,
No, sir.
Mr. Larry Lloyd, we don't want the ARDC to come get you. So, Mr. Larry Lloyd, you have one question, one person, since Ayanna is running the debate now and she done set the new order. I'm just playing. Go ahead, Mr. Lloyd. You got one question, one person.
Well, I guess my question would be for Mr. Mosley. We do know that, you work closely with Alderman Brookins. As candidate, should you eventually become the winner of the 21st Ward and become the alderman, will you maintain independence from him and just run the ward in your vision, or would he have some sort of influence over your office?
Yeah, let me share about my relationship with Alderman Brookins that came about from this race. Again, I was a part of the 8th Ward organization, and I went to Alderman Brookins when I decided to run, and he was looking to be a judge. He told me he had a guy, and that guy was Quaylee. I let him know that I was still going to pursue this, and he called me up and said, I'm going with you, not my guy. So this is a new relationship. I'm going to use that wisdom and experience that he has to deliver because he is the alderman. He knows what it takes.
Okay, Miss Clark, you ready? You ready? Do we got to go? Would you like to write the question? No, I'm just playing. You ready? I'm giving you a hard time.
You said one candidate, one question?
One candidate, one question. You about to run out.
Okay. I will say I'll give my question to Attorney Lloyd because nobody's asked him a question. Should you not win, who would be your second best choice for alderperson?
Can I say who it won't be?
Damn. Your answer. Your answer.
I'll say who it won't be. And I have my various reasons, and we'll be here all night with that. But it certainly will not be Mr. Brown. It certainly will not be Mr. Quaylee Quaza, if I pronounce that correctly. I believe that the 3 of us sitting up here, should any one of us win, I'll pledge to work with either one of these individuals because I've come to know them over this race, and I actually like them, and I don't like a lot of people. And so, and you can, if my wife was here, she would stand up and say, yeah. So if it was any of these 2 candidates up here, I'll support. But for the others, it's a hard no.
Okay. All right. Thank y'all. All right. This question comes from Facebook. Miss Angela Kilpatrick, attorney. Angela Kilpatrick, the Lions Den is in the building. What are the plans to develop 87th Street Business Corridor and promote black businesses beyond the Walmart shopping center? You like, me. I will let you have it, Mr. Moses.
I'm excited about that because in working with Alderman Brookins, I've already had money set aside that came from the mayor's office to finally develop a business district there that will go from the 83rd Street to the 89th Street. Again, I've built business districts. I actually built the one around Morehouse College. And so I'm bringing that same level of expertise in which you get to use an economic tool and the community gets to control that has a return for $8 or to $23 for every $1 that we spend. That's coming.
Okay. So wait, you've been in negotiations with the mayor's office already? What y'all doing around here? Let me go to you, Miss Clark.
So I will say this. First of all, I don't think Walmart should be anywhere in this conversation because they are known for not paying black people, and they promised us all these jobs and then replace them with automatic checkout lanes. So I don't want to have a conversation about them, but I have made it clear that one of my goals is to make sure that whatever development we have in the community is community led. We have enough car washes, we have enough chicken shacks, we have enough beauty supply stores, we have enough liquor stores. So what my plan is to institute businesses that improve our quality of life and give us somewhere to eat and play, because we don't have those in the 21st ward.
So, yeah, I listen to a lot discussion as a small business owner, right? I listen to a lot of discussion about what should happen for business and how it will be supported and the things that we should do. But it often seems as though it does not necessarily incorporate the fact of, are you ready to run a business? Can you actually run a business? You can have all the funding in the world, but if you don't understand profitability, right, it's like we say we're going to bring these businesses to the community. We're going to stand these people up. But if they don't have a viable business plan that generates money and income, then what we find is that we have subsidized businesses, right? So you look around, and quite frankly, like if you look at what's happened in the 8th Ward, if you look at what's happened in the 34th, in the 21st Ward, you see even in Stephanie Coleman's, you see all of these, not even just black businesses, but white businesses that were stood up with subsidies. And then when the subsidy runs out, then they walk away. And then we got these big old open corridors, and then they come back and repackage it and sell it. Another company comes under the same title. That's a different division. They call themselves Yellow Bananas, and the next thing you know, they getting another set of subsidies to run the business. I want to hear you talk about holistic recruitment of businesses, not subsidized, but bringing real businesses with viable plans. And I'll go back on the Brookings thing just a little bit. So I've gone to Las Vegas, right, to try and recruit businesses to come. And oftentimes we are listed. We don't get the prime. You're in the 3rd tier. You get JoJo's Chicken. You ain't getting Kentucky Fried Chicken or Popeye's Chicken. And so I guess my question is, how do you plan to recruit viable business? How do you plan to recruit viable businesses in our community and sustain them outside of all the grants and all the subsidies, and stand them up so that they can be thriving businesses? I'm going to go to you, Mr. Lloyd. I'll go to you, Ms. Clark, and then I'll come to you, Mr. Mosley. Larry Lloyd.
I think, we all see what goes on.
30 seconds.
Yes, sir. We see what goes on with the businesses that are here. We don't want to continually prop them up, and then they actually end up leaving. So my thing is that if we recruit a business that comes to the ward and they end up leaving once the subsidy runs out, we make them repay those subsidies so we don't have these vacant spots out here in our ward look terrible. We want to make sure that they have an incentive to stay, and if they're going to just come here and then just leave, then they're going to have a penalty for that.
Okay. Ms. Clark?
I think that when it comes to recruiting and retaining or making sure that people are prepared, there are a lot of tools that we have at our disposal. The BACP does very in-depth training with businesses that they also give them access to capital afterwards so that they can open up spaces in our ward. Every business does not have to be a standalone brick and mortar. If you look at what the Far South CDC has done in the 21st Ward, where they opened a business incubator, there's about 8 small businesses in there that they're going to allow to sell their products or do their services out of that space until they can grow on their own. I think that's where we start. We show people how to scale up.
Thank you. Mr.
Say the question again.
The question is, what will you do to bring sustainable black businesses to the community?
Got you. That starts again with community planning. It's again my background. It's the work that I've done and been successful at it. When we have that plan, then I'm able to go out and be the best advocate to get that job done. When we talk about giving subsidies to companies, I'm only interested if we are talking about strong community benefit agreements so that we know what we're going to get out of their impact or their presence in our community. If they should leave, then we've gotten our goods from it as well. And then lastly, I'll talk about like labor, because I think labor agreements are good templates for community benefit agreements. And I'm endorsed by labor. I'm asking them to come into schools to build the pipeline so that our people can do that development.
So you talk about you being endorsed by labor. Labor has not had particularly a very friendly relationship with the black community. As a matter of fact, as I think about this, right, I think when you look at the white labor unions, we look at them and they really exclude us, right? So trades, we're oftentimes fighting back and forth, and they're putting demands on our community about using union labor while they don't support we're not proportionally represented. Then I think about the traditional the unions where we're at, which are service unions, right, where the black folks are. And now it has become, because there is a dearth of political backbone, they are now dictating what is happening in our communities. Talk to me about, and I recognize that you are supported by labor, but talk to me about the relationship between labor and the black community, and why does it seem like it doesn't tend to benefit us? Why are we the people in the T-shirts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the guy making $180,000 is the white guy leading all the black people in the purple T-shirts or whatever T-shirts that they put us in. Help me understand the relationship between the black community and labor, and how you will be able to facilitate that in a better way.
Yeah, I've heard the reasons why our population aren't, high ranking and so forth. We have folks in this room that combat that, right? Even when they talk about we don't have enough black bricklayers or cement workers and so forth. I went to Simeon. It's a trade school. I want to make sure that these labor unions have a relationship. They serve on advisory councils to make sure that the curriculum is there and that there's a pipeline, that students get to shadow and see what it means to be a journeyman in these relationships.
Mr. Mosley, and I don't want to go back and forth with you, but that's the script, right? Like, that really is the script that we got somebody going to tell me about Washburn. Right? Then somebody going to tell me about we got a mentor-mentee program. And then they going to tell me about, we got laborers, etc. Or we got but it does not seem to be a genuine relationship.
Yeah.
And I don't know that incorporating them into our everyday machinations means that they're going to be collaborative. It means to me that they're going to be dictating and taking things over because they got the purse, right? They got the money. And they got the troops, which is why you look at them playing in all of our races and saying outside of what the political establishment is, what they plan to do. So I hear that, but I have yet to see it executed.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would be looking to see, if that is the case, what you're going to do different. Ms. Clark, let's go to you.
Because I didn't forget what
how do you manage the relationship between black people and labor in our community?
So you are correct. Throughout history, our folk have been excluded from labor unions. One of the reasons why it has taken so many of us so long to reach middle-class status is because a lot of the protections that were afforded to unions back during some of our earlier struggles have not been extended to our community. I think that in order for us to foster a relationship that's beneficial to everyone, we need to look at what jobs, what areas these labor unions are on, and amongst ourselves decide how we can funnel more people into that room, because labor unions on its face is not a bad thing, but when I'm walking into those rooms, it's often only one or two people that look like us that are making the decisions.
Mr. Larry Lloyd.
Well, I think we all understand that the relationship between our community and labor has been tenuous at best. I think that we do have some black contractors and black companies out here that just simply need to have their representation. We're not going to force them to do what they want to do, but when they're in our neighborhoods and they're doing these projects, we need to go out there and shut those projects down, because if we don't have the people that are out there that look like us, what's the benefit for us, for them to be in here making that? You go down to any of these projects, you see a license plate from Indiana and everywhere else, and then you don't see anybody that look like us out there doing those projects. You have to make sure that you demand that you get that seat at the table so that our residents get a chance to get those jobs.
Okay. I'm going to take a break. We are going to take a break. I'm going to get myself together. And then we are going to wrap up. I'm going to take these questions from the audience. We got questions from Facebook, YouTube. Not all of them, right? Not all of them. But we are going to ask these questions. And then we're going to be getting ready close to wrap it up. And we'll give you all an opportunity to give your elevator pitch, your elevator speech. Yeah, I'm going to take a break. So let's do this, DJ Riis the Ruler. We're going to take a quick break. Look, y'all got an in-studio audience. Y'all make some noise as we take a break. We'll be back after these messages.
The Maze Jackson Show will be back after this break. Maze Jackson.
Tune in to the Maze Jackson Show every day, Monday through Friday from 6 to 9 a.m., where you can catch us on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and Facebook Live. Plus, from 6:30 to 8, you can get us on WBGX 1570 a.m. That's right, it's the Maze Jackson Show, where every single day we ask the question, what's in it for the black people? And if you don't like it, you can still tell them, Maze said. We out of here. Peace.
This is Monster Jam! See the legendary Gravedigger and more tear up the dirt with massive stunts, all-out racing, and crazy skills. It's adrenaline-charged fun for the whole family.
Let's hear it! Make some noise!
Monster Jam, as big as it gets. Coming to Allstate Arena March 3rd through 5th. Brought to you by BKT Tires. You have to see it live, so lock in your seats at monsterjam.com.
With the longtime 34th Ward turning into the 21st Ward, there's only one clear choice for your next alderman of the 21st Ward, Cornel Dantzler. If you live in the 34th Ward, which is now the 21st Ward, vote for Cornel Dantzler in the upcoming election to represent your ward as alderman.
We will work together as a family and as a team so that we can make the 21st Ward one of the best wards in the city of Chicago. Thank you.
Punch 51 for Cornel Dantzler.
I love being black. Do you love being black? Yeah, I love being black. Hey, hey, hey. I do this for my people all across the globe. Hey, hey, it's break.
The skin I'm in fit me fine, tailor-made, yeah, I'm comfortable. And so it seems I'm still chasing my dreams. They told me, watch my steps, they want to pull the rug from under you. This is transparency, my life 3D. Live every word that I utter, reporting live from the gutter. Where the mind's hard to change, but we don't give up on our brothers and sisters. Cause we all need one another. The time's getting closer, revolution, feel it coming. I can smell it in the air. Inhale it, let it embody you. Because chances are the cops pull you over, they body you. Plus we don't trust each other, so there's just another obstacle. Why jump hurdles to make a change? It ain't optional. Olympian mindset in this booth with my binoculars. I see my vision getting clear. Yes, that's what a prophet do. My music touch the people's soul. Black power gospel tunes. So many styles, watch me kick them like they soccer moves. Falling rank and file, this is my platoon. Soldiers at attention, ain't no Willie lynching. This the program. Who they think they kidding? Reinvent the system. Total reconstruction of our mental stigma. This ain't a game, boy. Still they think I'm talking about Nintendo's. That's a shame, boy. Augment reality. Better fix your brain, boy. I love my people, hope they love me black. I'm going hard and ain't no holding back. Watch me react. I put my fist up in the skies like a beacon for believers that one day we return to our greatness. If we seek it, all the glory we can obtain it. Keep reaching, keep reaching. I'm painting this picture. I hope you see it. Guess what the theme is? I love being black. We turning up. I love being black. Say it loud. Man, I love being black. One more time. I love being black. Hey, hey, hey. Well, how about you done seen these tunes too? Customize for you a little something you can groove to. Feeling good about yourself. Melanated mood muse. Always service humble pie. We don't care about who's who. Light brown or dark skin. This right here's for you too. We are the gods of the earth. Living proof truth. Say it loud if you black and proud. I salute you and that's a fact. Where you at? Let me hear you say it back. I love being black. We turning up. I love being black. Say it loud. Man, I love being black. One more time. I love being black. Hey, hey, hey. Super melanation, renovation of our databases. Gotta fix the trinity to make it past the matrix. There's a rabbit in the hole. Your decision, you gon' chase it or just shove it for complacency. Here's your motivation. Black power in your veins. Up to us to build a nation. European mental detox completely. We erase it. Cause you can't keep writing over old information. Probably bring it right back if you love being black. I love being black. We turning up. I love being black. Say it loud. Man, I love being black. One more time. I love being black. Hey, hey, hey. I do this for my people all across the map. Even for the ones who don't identify with being black. Hebrews the best elixir. Go ahead and try your best. It's true serum, hallelujah spirits. The ancestors speak to me. I spit the truth.
Back to the Maze Jackson Show. You are listening to the most dangerous show. This is What's in It for the Black People Radio. Maze Jackson. Maze Jackson, the most vociferous advocate for black people in the world.
For Ruthie Moore, for Ty Stroger, I am the host of the Maze Jackson Show, asking every single day, what's in it for the black people? And if you don't like it, you can still tell them Maze said, Mayor Lightfoot, man, we ain't accepting that. We ain't accepting that. Let's go.
Yeah. Let's get down to business and go ahead and address the facts, man. Lightfoot seems more lesbian than black. Rahm Emanuel's another case. He was just as tired. 50 closed schools left much to be desired. Police had Anjanette naked on that body cam. They suppressed the footage so it couldn't touch a lot of hands. Reminds me of that 16 shots in that cover-up. Both of them similar, so I went and dug it up. George Floyd killed, a lot of riots happened in the town. Southside burned and they wouldn't let them bridges down. Grandmother sick, need a prescription and plus a couple groceries. You gon' have to travel just to get it now. COVID-19 out here shutting all the business down. Not enough SBA loans to even give around. So many failed businesses that you could put them in the pile. If you don't survive the pandemic, it's gonna sit you down. We sing, dance, play ball, entertain, and crack jokes. Government infested black neighborhoods with crack smoke. System that milked us so bad, we got lactose. Still trying to find out what's in it for us black folks. We sing, dance, play ball, entertain, and crack jokes. Government infested black neighborhoods with crack smoke. System that milked us so bad, we got lactose. Still trying to find out what's in it for us black folks. Shout out to Willie Wilson, hope one day you get to send it. We need some different players in the game to handle business. Too many shady characters like Madigan and Blago. But when you really break it down, it's typical Chicago. City full of gangsters, it's what the land was built on. Same streets with hood legends, DNA get spilled on. Carjackers out here lurking, trying to get they steal on. Looking for a block to put them Hellcat wheels on. Lenders give bogus appraisals a red line. Car crackers out here getting minimal fair time. Enough to seal carry, I stay with the pipe. But Illinois gun laws giving minimal rights. Stay up on the swivel, make sure I'm moving tight. Check all of my mirrors when I pull up to the light. Pick my homie up from out of town, man, he caught a flight. He was hella nervous, told him, shorty, this is a way of life. We sing, dance, play ball, entertain, and crack jokes. Government infested black neighborhoods with crack smoke. System that milked us so bad, we got lactose. Still trying to find out what's in it for us black folks. We sing, dance, play ball, entertain, and crack jokes. Government infested black neighborhoods with crack smoke. System that milked us so bad, we got lactose. Still trying to find out what's in it for us black folks.
Wake up, Chicago! Make some noise in the building. That's right. We are in the building. All right, y'all. This is the last segment of the last chance candidate debates. We are live broadcasting from Obsidian, the place where black people meet. Oh, I think somebody stole that. That ain't just like blackpeoplemeet.com. All right, well, we going to figure it out. But anyway, and in the building, I want to repeat. Let me listen. Y'all listen real close. Because I think they said there's 7 candidates in the race. And we said, who wants to come answer the question, what's in it for the black people? Miss Ayanna Clark, Mr. Larry Lloyd, and Mr. Ronnie L. Mosley were the people who answered the call. Now, I don't know what everybody else's people's got to get their head did. They got to look fresh for the weekend, you know what I'm saying? But when it came down to answering the questions that black people want answers to, Miss Ayanna Clark, Mr. Larry Lloyd, and Mr. Ronnie Mosley are in the building. They are live. So let me tell y'all what. In the building, I want y'all to give them a big round of applause as well for doing it. We appreciate you all being here. It's important. Shout out to my man DJ Riis, the ruler, with the enhancement. I love it. All right, so I got some more questions, but before I get to my questions, I have some questions from social media and from the audience, and I think Mr. Shannon Washington is going to want to ask a question too, because he's from the old 34, and I think the people from the old 34 are feeling a little nervous because they like, man, we've been out in no man's land for a long time, and now they getting into the 21st ward, and now they wondering, are they going to stay in no man's land? Or will you be bringing them into the fold? Or do they got to go call Bill Conway because of the old 34th Ward? I'm just playing around. So let's start here. As you have been out campaigning, can you tell us what have been some of the most pressing concerns that you have been hearing, and how do you plan to address those concerns? Now, I'm going to say we probably have hit a big chunk of this, but I'm going to give y'all 10 seconds to tell me what are the 3 biggest things that you've heard. Let's say 15, and then what you plan to do for them. We'll start with, you like that? I can't do it in 15 seconds. That's why you got to be quick on your feet.
3-part questions.
3-part question, 5 seconds each. Just got to manage it out.
Okay.
So you want me to start with Mr. Mosley so you can have some time to think?
No, I already know what the top ones are. So our 3 top issues: public safety, ward services, and upkeep for people's homes. So is that my 15 seconds?
No, I said you got 30. I'm going to give you 30.
So our 3 biggest issues: public safety, access to ward services, and our seniors being able to upkeep and stay in their properties on limited incomes. I've already talked about my plan for a lot of these, but the simplest answer is just making sure that I'm empowering the community by connecting them to resources that I already have.
Mr. Lloyd.
The 3 biggest things that I've come across is safety. You definitely have the economic development and also the lack of city services or the response times. So as I said earlier, my goal would be to have an advisory council so we can have input from the community as far as what needs to be done first and what their needs are that need to be addressed quickly, and to have those things addressed on the community level.
Okay. Mr. Mosley.
Public safety again, and so I'm not only going to have a great working relationship with the new police district councils that are coming up, because Chicago is changing, but then also making sure that we continue to invest in violence prevention programming that comes from the city, and again, more opportunities, because I think that's how we stop crime, is giving it a job. When we talk about businesses in our own community that we can spend our dollars, so that we don't have to go to the 19th Ward or Western, we don't have to go to the suburbs, we don't have to go downtown.
All right. Dang, 5? How you gonna get 5 in 10 seconds? All right, so we're gonna start with you, Mr. Mosley. This question says 5. I'm gonna make it 3, and I'll give you 30 seconds. 3 things that you would do differently to improve your ward.
Yes, having a community planning committee, so made up of residents from each aspect or each area of the ward that will be engaged in the decision-making process. There are experts that we have in our wards. I want to honor that. 2, communications. I think that's the big thing in how you deliver. And 3, delivering services.
Mr. Lloyd.
I think improving the city services that we have come to expect in other wards, but we're lacking in our ward. I think the other thing would be to make sure that we are communicating effectively with the residents of the ward, because, as I said, not every resident in the ward deals with social media. So you want to make sure that you get out there and you're knocking on doors and you have newsletters. I think the other thing would be as far as making sure that we have the economic development that we so desperately need in our ward as well.
All right. And then finally, Ms. Clark.
3 things I would do to improve my ward. 1, make sure that we're effectively communicating with residents. 2, make sure that we're reaching out to our youth and young adult population and bringing them into the political process. And 3, finding ways to streamline ward services and get the results that people are actually looking for.
All right. Look at that. Y'all knocked them out. Miss Lori K. Westerfield in the audience has the question: do you feel as an alderman that you can influence CPS to properly resource neighborhood schools in the 21st Ward? Mr. Lloyd, then we'll go to Mr. Mosley, and we'll end. No, Ms. Clark, you ended the last time. So Mr. Lloyd, Ms. Clark, Mr. Mosley.
I think as an alderman, you do have some influence as far as what goes on in the with the wards and the schools. However, we do know that they have a very powerful union behind them, and I do believe that at some point there's going to have to be a situation where we get to understand that the resources that are put out there, CPS will pay for what they want to pay for, but you want to make sure that infrastructurally we're getting into the neighborhood schools, where not so much of the budget is going towards the magnets and the special schools that we have in the wards, like the selective enrollment. So you definitely want to make sure that whatever avenue that you can take to make sure that those dollars are being properly allocated equally and equitably, you want to do that.
Ms. Clark.
I do believe that as aldermen, we can have influence over the decisions that CPS makes because, again, power lies with people. So when you advocate for certain things, when you're showing up and empowering the community, we can make things happen. I also recognize that, again, we are not constrained by the Chicago public school system. There are other ways to fund our school that I have access to, that I have worked with. So if CPS is not willing to come to the table, that doesn't mean that our schools have to suffer. We have to find other ways to impact our own neighborhood schools.
Mr. Mosley.
Yes. I'm going to start by saying, like, I hope to serve on the education committee for city council where we can have that dialogue. Also, I'm a local school council member because I saw the gap in resources. I tapped our community. Greater Auburn Gresham Community Development Corporation gave Simeon over $100,000 for after-school programming for those at Simeon that weren't involved in sports. And then lastly, I'm going to have strong collaboration between our principals at the elementary and high school levels so that we create a holistic, better education environment.
Ms. Clark, and then I'll go to you, Mr. Mosley, and Mr. Lloyd. CTU, should the schools have been closed during COVID?
I will say yes, because the medical facilities that we have in Black communities are lacking, and I would much rather people be at home than interacting with each other when we don't have the infrastructure to save lives.
Mr. Mosley?
Yes, they should have. We want to have the best environment for everyone, and I believe that in part was having students at home. And then again, we're asking teachers, just like we did nurses and others, frontline essential workers, to be there. But what did the support look like?
Mr. Lloyd.
I think the time that they should have been shut down was basically from the time that the pandemic started until the next school year started. At that point, there was enough information and knowledge out there where those schools should have been reopened, because I think, as we all know, that there was a lot of students that when the schools went back into session that are not accounted for, and no one seems to know what's going on with those students and where they're at. And I do think that in hindsight, it was a mistake to keep them closed for as long as they did.
So I was going to piggyback on that. So when the students were in school and the teachers weren't, how did that, give me thoughts on that. So students are in school being taught by a teacher that is at home. Where's the priorities? Let's go with you, Mr. Mosley, Mr. Lloyd, and then Ayanna.
Can you?
So the teachers actually let the students go to school while they taught from home. I guess my question is do you believe that CTU is operating in the best interest of the students or the best interest of their members?
Yeah, I think, again, the safety is the first concern. So this is why I said they should have been closed, because you had to figure out a method that could work where you could keep teachers safe, where you can keep students safe, and deal with the realization that not everybody has internet at home, that everybody needs that meal that comes from school and so forth. So you had students that were in the classroom trying to create a learning environment. But again, what is the best thing to keep folks safe?
Okay. Ms. Clark?
I think that we're talking about two different decisions that were made, because CTU did not make the decision to keep schools open. They did not make the decision to send our children to school. What I will say, and I said this in a previous question, we cannot get upset with people for advocating in their best interests. We as a community and as parents have to speak up and make sure our children aren't getting left behind. When the pandemic hit, it exacerbated a lot of the issues that we already had when it came to the school system. And I don't agree with the way that it was handled, but I think there are things that we can change to make sure it's not happening next time.
Period. Mr. Lloyd.
During the time that the students were at home and the teachers were remote, I had a senior and a freshman in high school. To me, it was a disaster, because it was not, the learning was just not the same. The teachers were not really engaged. They just cut the cameras off. And you really don't know what's going on. The students would just cut the cameras off, and they weren't really paying attention. So I don't think the students were engaged. I think that they were lost, and I think that lost interest created what we have now, where you, like I said earlier, you have students that just are unaccounted for. So at this point, I just don't believe that what took place was, I think it was accurate. And I just think it was bad for the students overall.
Okay. And then I'm going to hit this one. With housing costs being one of the many reasons why Black people are leaving Chicago, what would you do to make your ward a place where families can afford to live? Let's start with Ms. Clark, Ronnie, Mosley, and then Larry Lloyd.
I've already talked about some of the work that I'm doing with the Hope Center Foundation to bring affordable home ownership to Black residents. One of the things that I will advocate for is home ownership because mortgages cost less than it costs to rent from someone. So I'll continue the groundwork that I'm doing to make sure we're educating residents, we're getting them access to funding, and we're finding them good paying jobs that can keep them in their homes. They don't have to worry about rising costs of rent because they'll own that home, and that mortgage price does not really change.
Mr. Mosley?
Yep. Again, we have to take advantage of those tax subsidies that are there from homeowners. My first job ever was actually with Neighborhood Housing Services of Chicago. That's another resources that can help folks. And even when we talk about folks who don't own their homes, right, renters, there has to be some compassion for folks who have been in this pandemic that did not have a control of how their circumstances would change. Those landlords that show that compassion, I think we should have a safety net for them.
Mr. Lloyd.
I think given the amount of vacant housing and vacant lands we have in the ward, we should definitely look towards building more affordable housing for low to moderate income homeowners. I think once you give them that path to home ownership, it just continues to build upon the strong foundation that we already have. As I said before, the 21st Ward is a very solid neighborhood, and I think that by having affordable homes for people to actually have access to would be nothing but good for our neighborhood.
All right. 10 seconds. Who are your, and I'll start with you this time. Who are give me your most essential community partners in the 21st Ward? And 10 seconds. Miss Clark.
I would say the Phalanx Family Services, Far South CDC, and the Hope Center. Those are three organizations that I've been working with over the course of the last couple of years.
Mr. Mosley?
I would take two of those, the Phalanx Center, the Far South CDC, and also to recognize some of the churches like Third Baptist and Sheldon Heights.
Okay. Mr. Lloyd?
I think Phalanx, CDC, and the churches in the community would be the biggest ones.
Okay. One of the big things we talk about oftentimes is equity. It's like a buzzword. Diversity, everybody's got a DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion plan. We got what do they call it? The social equity plans, right? We are the most equitable state. I hear it all the time. People stand up. We are going to be the most equitable state in the country. But it doesn't seem that way. We have the most Black elected officials. We are the bluest state in the Midwest, if not the country. Yet and still, Black people are last in all 16 economic indicators. And I see people standing up, standing behind people, clapping, cheering, saying, "You the greatest." Although it's the worst for us here than anywhere. It's better for Black people in Texas than it is in Chicago, in Illinois. Who's doing a good job as an elected official? And will you stand and support people who have not been equitable to us? I'll start with you, Mr. Mosley.
As the next alderman of the 21st Ward, my seatmate will potentially continue to be Jeanette Taylor. She stands up for us. She speaks truth to power. I want to partner with her on that. My experience gives me a unique position. I know how this works. I know how to deliver. I'm going to take that truth, stay connected to our people, where our power comes from, and be able to deliver.
So we're going to come back to that. I'm going to go to you, Ms. Clark.
He kind of stole my answer because Jeanette Taylor is like my spirit animal. So I will say at the aldermanic level, of course, I love Jeanette Taylor. Marie Haddon does a lot of great work. At the state level, Justin Slaughter has done a lot to impact the criminal justice system. And at the federal level, Black elected officials, I wouldn't give that to anybody.
Okay. Mr. Lloyd.
City Council, none. Justin Slaughter is the only person that I've seen that may have a bit of an impact on us. If any of those folks in any of those areas and any of those elected positions were doing what they're supposed to do, we wouldn't be last in all the economic indicators now, would we? So I don't support any of them.
So in the state of Illinois, we passed the social equity cannabis initiative, right? Just last week, we finally saw the first black cannabis dispensary open. I was in city council when the city council voted to allow the dispensaries to open with no black participation. I watched as the governor stood up in front of the whole entire world and declared that everybody is basing their model on cannabis equity and inclusion on Illinois with no participation. But I also know that the governor is the most powerful and the most moneyed person in the state, which buys a lot of quietness or fear or intimidation or get on board. I don't see it. What problems? Ain't got no problems. It's all good in Illinois. Shackman's been released. It's ended. I have not seen the jobs from the state come to the ward. What will you do as alderman to stand up for black people in the face of power? Because I hear about, you got to talk about Jeanette Taylor, that's fine. But what you going to do when it's the person that has who is going to have the ability to actually speak truth to power and use the relationships to tell the governor, the elected officials, the powers that be, it's not right. It's a challenge for me for everybody to be standing up behind the governor, right? I kind of feel a certain way when they get to come to our neighborhood and nobody said we got good neighborhoods. Anybody here saying we got great neighborhoods? Anybody saying that? Great neighborhoods, yet and still there's never a challenge, there's never a question. How will you challenge the status quo for black people to get advanced in the state of Illinois? I'll start with you, Mr. Lloyd. I'll go to you, Mr. Mosley, and then I'll wrap with you, Ms. Clark. Larry Lloyd.
The cannabis industry, I think, is it's unique in that we've been put in jail for many years for the same thing that they're now profiting off of. Given that I'm not in this for the remainder of my life to just try to hold on to a seat for power, if you have something like that that's coming into the neighborhood and we're supposed to be included, you better make sure that I will be out there making sure that we're at that table. Because for far too long, we're just props on the news channel. We're just in the background. We're just cheering them on, and we get paid off to be quiet. That's not going to be me because that's not what I do. So if we're going to sit here and we talk about inclusion, you're going to make sure that you have somebody that's going to fight for that inclusion to actually be happening and you actually see it. You don't just hear about it come election time.
Mr. Mosley, you're part of the governor's team at some point, correct?
Yeah, and cannabis has to be consolidated into one agency, its own office. So I was one of the regulators. In fact, when we talk about those business owners who are now opening up dispensaries, that's because of the legislation that I worked and got passed. What I saw continuously was the internal struggle of prioritizing equity across 14 different agencies. That's why cannabis has to be a standalone office. Even navigating that system to get a simple answer, you had to call 14 different agencies. Government does work slow. It does work slow. I mean, we talk about those folks who join and 3 years later, we're now just seeing them. That's a process. But I've been a part of that implementation to know where the pitfalls are and to build bridges over those gaps.
Let me jump in right there because we talk about how long things take. Within 2 weeks of the election, the governor passed an assault weapons ban. Right? Mm-hmm. Twisted everybody's arm, passed an assault weapons ban because 7 people got shot in Highland Park. We've been getting we've been getting shot down in the middle of the street, but yet and still we were the props to make that happen. Why did that move so fast, but now we can't figure out cannabis?
There are times where it seems to move fast, but again, I lost Blair Hope May 10th, 2007, where we were fighting for that. It's now 2023. So it seems like when you know, if you have not lived this day to day, then you say, yes, 2 weeks, it happened. And political capital is there. The political will is there. But these movements don't just happen overnight.
It did for cannabis. It did for the white people in cannabis and the cartel that happened to. I'm gonna park it there and I'm gonna let it be. But it's always, and my challenge is, and this is where we tend to have these run-ins, it's like we make excuses for why we can't participate, and we then buy into the excuse. As we watch, and I ain't gonna even go into the new cannabis licenses and who got them, right? And if we talked about who got the cannabis licenses for real, and if the people knew what it was, it'd really be a problem, right? Like it would just further exacerbate the situation. I just guess my challenge in all of these conversations, Mr. Mosley, especially in recognizing that you do have a relationship and the governor did endorse you, is just you have the existing relationship. And if it's slow for you, right, and you know it and you worked on it and you worked in all the legislation, in some kind of way, they figured out how these white folks and certain communities, because I don't want to get called anti, but we look at the consolidation of the industry, and it seemed to work for them. As we were told we could get out of jail, they got rich. And then they told us, hey, fam, and the best ones of y'all that can sell weed, y'all can't participate. And nobody said, and it's like, and now we got black champions hollering that it's equitable. And this is where the disconnect, in my estimation, comes from in our community. That's not on you particularly, but I do think when we claim it, right? And it's like they got a brother telling us that it takes time. It takes time. The reason we all are clear that the reason that happened in Blair Holt died a long time ago, and there was no move by anybody in Highland Park to shut down the assault weapons ban. It only occurred when they had their issue and their crisis in Highland Park, and black people are sitting around like, hold on. Y'all mean to tell me, and I got black folks calling me, talking about we got to get behind this, and I'm okay. And then we don't even get the contract to do all the media, right? And all us are used as props by white folks to pass this thing because they knew they couldn't just pass an assault weapons ban without putting black folks in it. Mr. Mosley, my big challenge would say that will you have the ability to speak truth to power in the space when you get there? And that's not a lecture to you, but this is part of the frustrations of black people that we hear because we see the inequity, and then all of us make the excuse for them being rich. Miss Clark.
If you look back through all of my social media, you will know that that's what I'm known for. Anytime I walk in a room, people are like, well, here come trouble, because I'm always going to speak up for the best of us. When we're talking about what happened with the cannabis industry and all of these laws that are being passed on behalf of us, I think that's why it's important to have ghetto folk at the table. And I'm not saying that because I'm trying to bring the hood up or do whatever, but we understand what it's like to navigate these systems, and we understand what it's going to take to fix them. If we're talking about equity in cannabis, then every single person who has ever been arrested should have had a first chance to have a license. And not only that, their licenses should have been subsidized. If we were talking about equity in cannabis, that all the corner boys should have been given vendors licenses so they can now make money legally off of what they've been arrested for generations. So when it comes to me not being in a position of power and still speaking truth to power, then you best believe that once I'm in the seat, I'm going to continue to do that because the livelihood of my black boys depends on it.
All right. What time is it? Oh, my goodness. Look at that. Look, y'all like, whoosh, the clock is up. So, look, y'all, this has been a robust and spirited debate. Let me see. Shannon, I said I was going to ask you a question before we get out of here. So, why don't you stand up and say it pretty loud so we can hear it, and I'll repeat it. $12? 24. So Roger Washington is a former resident of the 34th Ward who is now a resident of the Shannon, Washington. is now a resident of the 21st Ward, wants to know if you've gone to any of the areas in the old 34 and identified them for development opportunities. Shannon, thank you for your question. I'll turn it back over to the candidates. I'm going to ask you to answer this question. If you can keep it brief, 15 seconds. We'll start with you, Roger.
Roger.
Oh, Ronnie.
Everybody got new names
Roger.
today.
No,
Everybody got new names
It's a
today.
Roger Mosley. I was thinking, I'm looking dead at it. Ronnie Mosley. I'm sorry, sir. Go ahead.
Yes, I have. So, of course, there is the Far South CDC plan that was put in place and worked together with residents of the old 34th Ward that talks specifically about 115. We got to have strong business corridors everywhere. So that means 111, 119, and keep coming back north as well.
Ms. Clark?
One point of correction, it was actually the Far South Chicago Coalition that came up with that plan. But yes, I live in the old 34, and I have been working with community organizations under my time with Congressman Rush for the last 3 years. So,
and Mr. Lloyd.
Yeah, I think the areas that are identified primarily is 115th Street and Halsted in particular. Those are two areas that definitely are strong and definitely need to have that type of development.
All right. Thank you for your answer. I think we have come to that time. It is time for you all to give us your elevator pitch. You got 1 minute to tell us why we should elect you as alderman of the why, not me because I don't get a vote, but the viewers and the listeners should elect you for the alderman of the 21st Ward. Let me see. We started with you, Ms. Clark, came to you. All right, so let's do it like this. Let's do Larry Lloyd, Ronnie Mosley, and then Ayanna Clark, right? You all have a minute to tell the listeners and viewers why you should be the alderman of the 21st Ward. Give me 1 second, though, because what I do want to do is I want to give you this opportunity to do it with yourself in the screens. Ooh, dang. Hold on. Give me a second, guys. I want to give you the opportunity to have did we lose a solo shot? Hold on. Pardon me. What just happened? Hold on. I'm sorry, y'all. I got to go manual.
So good, so good.
Ain't that how it works? I don't know what just happened, but we already did. Let's see. All right, Mr. Larry Lloyd, you have 1 minute to give your pitch, starting now.
My run for alderman is that living in the ward, you realize that our ward is hurting, the people in that ward are hurting. We have areas that have been neglected for far too long. We've had leadership for decades that have ignored the needs and the will and the hurt and the cries of the people. What we want to do if I were to become the alderman is to make sure that the people understand that seat really belongs to them. And the person that's in that seat has to have the will and the desire to make sure that the ward is being dealt with properly, that the residents' needs are being met, and that we are getting what we are paying for in taxes. We pay a lot. We don't get a lot for those, and making sure that we get the services that we need. I'm not in this because I'm a politician. I'm not in this for my own personal gain. I'm in this simply because I see the same things that everybody else see. We want change. We want real change that we can actually see, and not to be told that it's coming, but to actually never see it happen. So I think that with my candidacy, if I were to prevail, that would be my focus and my priorities to make sure that the residents' needs are being met as every day as they should have been for years prior. Thank you.
All right, next up. Yeah, give me a second. I'm trying to get this bad boy together. No, it ain't. So I'm going to. Next up. I got a floater. All right, next up, Mr. Ronnie L. Mosley. Mr. Mosley, tell us why you should be the next candidate, the next alderman of the 21st Ward. You got 1 minute.
The 21st Ward is the greatest ward in the city of Chicago. It doesn't look that way. It doesn't feel that way. That has to change. I'm here and I've been only able to accomplish the things that I have because our community invested in me. That's why I say that I'm a proud son of this ward. I hear you when we say we need to have a safe ward. I hear you when we say that we need to have strong businesses in our own communities to support our own economy. And I hear you when we say that we need resources. We deserve it all, and I'm going to deliver it. I'm going to fight for you, with you, and together we're going to win. So I hope you'll join our movement. You can find more info about me on ronniemosley.com, and let's be the best ward in the city.
Hold on. I got my headphones. All right, that is Mr. Ronnie Mosley. Give me one more second and we're going to get you Miss Clark. Miss Ayanna Clark, you have 1 minute. Please tell us why you should be the next alderman of the 21st Ward.
Black Chicago as a whole is at a crossroads. We know what the issues are. We've seen our communities go downhill for generations. And now we are at a point where we can either go up or we can fall further into despair. In order for us to rebuild not just the 21st Ward, but all of Black Chicago, we need leadership that is going to show up when it's difficult. We need leadership that's going to do the work when it's not attached to a title. And we need leadership that is invested in the well-being of every single person who lives in the community. I am that leadership. If you visit www.ayanaclarkfor21.com, you will see all of the organizations that I have collaborated with to bring change to Black communities. You will find a little bit about my history and know that I worked my way up from nothing, and I want to do the same for our ward. And finally, I'll say it is our Black babies that are dying, and it's going to take a Black mama to fix it. Thank you.
Goodness gracious. Let me tell y'all what. This debate has been beyond spirit. Now, I want to say spirited. I would just say that I am wholly impressed with every candidate here. I will tell you that the residents of the 21st Ward will be well served, at least from what I've heard today, by anyone up here. You all have been thoughtful in your responses. You have been prepared. You seem to know the issues. It is my sincere hope that you remember this conversation as you embark upon Election Day, but you also think about it when one of you are elected as the alderman. Don't run from your people, right? Like, I understand there's a lot of people that don't like us advocating for ourselves. They can put every ism, schism, anti-schism, whatever they want to do as we talk about our issues. But I must tell you that I am honored that you all showed up today. Let me read the names out real quick one more time. Ayanna Clark, Larry Lloyd, and Ronnie L. Mosley. They say half the game is showing up, right? Half of it is showing up. Black folks, y'all got some decisions to make. The reality is, with so many people in your race, you all are going to probably be in a runoff. Somebody's going to be in a runoff. So my question is, would one of y'all, if y'all are in the runoff, will y'all support each other? Look. They both like, I'm going to be in a runoff. I ain't supporting it. Anyway, the thing I do want to say, though, regardless, is that I hope that you all will continue. Oh, you know what I didn't ask? Let me ask this real quick. If you had to hire one person that you have met on the campaign trail, one of your opponents, who, hold on, and I got to turn my camera around, so give me a second. Hold on, Riis, let me, like, I want some faces. All right. Then we're going to end this. Made my look all crazy. Like, you need a shave, dude. All right. If you had to hire one person that you are running against on the campaign trail, who would it be? I'll start with you, Miss Clark, and I'll go to you, Mr. Lloyd, and then I will let you close, Mr. Mosley. Dang, I done gave you about 15 different names. Now you're Ronnie Rosley. All right. Miss Clark.
I would say anybody at this table or Cornell Dancer. These have been the most.
Gotta pick one.
Well, either one of them. I bring them all to the table. We can all work together.
You obviously haven't seen the automatic budget. No,
okay. Listen, when you want something done, you'll find a way to get it done. I'll say this. I have seen these two and Cornell show nothing but respect to the community. They have been about the work, and we have focused on the issues, so I would be honored to have any of them working with me in the 21st Ward office.
Okay, Mr. Lloyd.
If I got to pick one, I would say Miss Clark, and that's simply because I admire her passion, her spirit, as we've done this whole thing. And two, she reminds me of my mother a little bit.
She's a little young to be your mama.
Yeah, I know, but she said something. She said something to somebody that kind of got slideways and slick with it. And I'm like, that sounds like my mother over there. So I just walked away. But if I had to pick, it would definitely be Miss Clark. Though.
Okay, and then Mr. Mosley, if you had to pick somebody.
I actually believe that Ayanna reminds me of my mom. She had me when she was 14. And did a hell of a job raising me, and she's doing a hell of a job raising her two boys. Larry's my neighbor. We're a block across from each other, so
y'all couldn't work this out.
Block clubs and so forth.
Hey man, so I gotta tell you, I expected a little. I probably expected a little bit more tension, but I gotta tell you, I thought that this was awesome. I think that the way that you all respect each other, the way that you interact with each other, I think the 21st Ward is gonna be in good hands, regardless of who gets the spot. But I just want to thank you all for coming out today. Look, y'all, this is the Maze Jackson Show. We ask the question, what's in it for the black people, all the time. Not everybody wants to answer it. Right? Not everybody wants to answer it because it's a difficult question. Sometimes it can even be embarrassing if you don't have an answer for the question, which in some cases, a lot of people after a lot of years probably don't have the questions. I would caution us to say that it's a lot easier. It looks easier than it is. And so a lot of things, a lot of big plans, a lot of things that we want to see happen do take time. They take energy. They take effort. But what I am confident in is that regardless of who gets the spot, one of you will do a good job for the black people in the 21st Ward. So with that in mind, I want to thank everybody for coming out today on a Saturday. We had a long night last night. Shout out to Alderman David Moore and his 54th birthday party and all the people that came. Thank you to Obsidian for allowing us to use the space. Got to send a big shout out to Big Swill, who puts it all together, helps us put the stuff together, but also is the owner of a TP, right? So I want y'all to make sure TP is the result, Mr. Mosley, of no access, right? So I'm just giving you a hard time. Got to thank my official timekeeper, Zaviola Coleman. I know we can't do it without DJ Riis to rule on the ones and twos. I got my whole what's in it for. Well, I ain't got the whole crew. Everybody else was at the party last night, so they was like, we might not make it. And some people is getting suspended. Just so y'all know, some of these people back here that you see in my spot behind me, they going to be on suspension, so they might not be there for a couple weeks. Anyway, now I got Zaviola in the building. And I got my whole crew. I got to thank my Director of Governmental Affairs, Miss Regina Gibson, who got everybody out here. Look, y'all got people who make it happen. I got Cassandra Matz, who's in the building. Don't forget her. She's running for a trustee in University Park, right? Huh? excuse me, dang nabbit, all the rich people, Olympia Fields, I can't, all them rich suburbs, where the black folks migrated to, Miss Cassandra Matz, right, in the building. We got understand what's in it for the black people is not just Mays Jackson. It's really an organization, right? It's what's in it for the black people media. Then we have what's in it for the black people, a political action committee, and Black People First, which is all kind of one thing. But for all of us today, I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge my beautiful and lovely wife who is in the building, president of the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District, Carrie K. Steele. Don't hold me against her. Goodness. Anyway, y'all, thank you to the candidates who came out today. I appreciate you. For Mays, Riis, I am the host for What's in It for the Black People, for What's in It for the Black People Media, for Black People First. I got to say, big shout out to Desiree. And this probably I ain't going to say too much about it because she's going to be on suspension too. But y'all, and please remember Obsidian. Please consider joining Obsidian. It's a place where black people come. We can talk, we can share our ideas, and be in a safe space where we can talk and plan our future. So, for Mays and Riis, the whole crew, I am the host of the Mays Jackson Show, where every single day we ask the question, even on a Saturday, what's in it for the black people? And if you don't like it, you can still tell them. Mays said, we out of here, peace.
Let's get down to business and go ahead and address the facts, man. Lightfoot seems more lesbian than black. Rahm Emanuel's another case, he was just as tired. 50 closed schools left much to be desired. Police had Anjanette naked on that body cam. They suppressed the footage so it couldn't touch a lot of hands. Reminds me of that 16 shots in that cover-up. Both of them similar, so I went and dug it up. George Floyd killed, a lot of riots happened in the town. Southside burned and they wouldn't let them bridges down. Grandmother sick, need a prescription and plus a couple groceries. You gon' have to travel just to get it now. COVID-19 out here shutting all the business down. Not enough SBA loans to even give around. So many failed businesses that you could put them in the pile. If you don't survive the pandemic, it's gon' sit you down. We sing, dance, play ball, entertain, and crack jokes. Government infested black neighborhoods with crack smoke. System that milked us so bad, we got lactose. Still trying to find out what's in it for us black folks. We sing, dance, play ball, entertain, and crack jokes. Government infested black neighborhoods with crack smoke. System that milked us so bad, we got lactose. Still trying to find out what's in it for us black folks. Shout out to Willie Wilson, hope one day you get to send it. We need some different players in the game to handle business. Too many shady characters like Madigan and Blago. But when you really break it down, it's typical Chicago. City full of gangsters, it's what the land was built on. Same streets with hood legends, DNA get spilled on. Carjackers out here lurking, trying to get they steal on. Looking for a block to put them Hellcat wheels on. Lenders give bogus appraisals a red line. Car crackers out here getting minimal fair time. And I'm concealed carry, I stay with the pipe. But Illinois gun laws giving minimal rights. Stay up on the swivel, make sure I'm moving tight. Check all of my mirrors when I pull up to the light. Pick my homie up from out of town, man, he caught a flight. He was hella nervous, told him, shorty, this a way of life. We sing, dance, play ball, entertain, and crack jokes. Government infested black neighborhoods with crack smoke. System that milked us so bad, we got lactose. Still trying to find out what's in it for us black folks. We sing, dance, play ball, entertain, and crack jokes. Government infested black neighborhoods with crack smoke. System that milked us so bad, we got lactose. Still trying to find out what's in it for us black folks.